just can't get over this. This is just something that has just been sticking with me. But it says President Donald Trump orders plan for United States Sovereign Wealth Fund. And this is on February 3rd. This is very fascinating to me. Wouldn't you like to be rich? Wouldn't you like to be rich? And the answer is yes. Everybody would like to be rich. That is something that we all can agree on, right? Well, it seems like there's coming a day where somebody is going to make everybody rich. And so let's talk about it. In Daniel chapter 11, it talks about the Antichrist shall enter peaceably, even into the richest places of the province, and he shall do what his fathers have not done, nor his forefathers. He shall disperse among them, the people, the plunder, spoil, and riches. Here, this is Fox News in January 29th, 2025. It says, Trump proposes abolishment of federal income tax, bringing U.S. back to richest period in history. This is fascinating. I mean, I'm just like, this is wild. It's just, when you start diving into this and you start to see it, you're just watching and you're like, what's actually going on here? Here you see the first 100 hours of Mr. Trump's administration. It goes off and it says historic action to kick off America's golden age. Now, the golden age is something that I think we need to be sensitive to at least for what it is, the implications behind it. And this is going to be we're going to go on an interesting trail here, so just stay with me. In Daniel chapter 2, Daniel is talking to Nebuchadnezzar, who was king of Babylon. And Nebuchadnezzar has this dream, and he basically tells all of his wise men to interpret the dream for him, and nobody could do it. And so Nebuchadnezzar starts ending all of their lives. But then Daniel finds out about it and he prays, he asks God for wisdom and for the interpretation. And so God gives him the interpretation. And so in Daniel chapter 2, he's giving Nebuchadnezzar the interpretation of the dream. And he says that he sees an image, and he goes on and he describes all of the image. He says the image of the head was of fine gold. So he goes on, he talks about the chest, the arms, its belly, and its thighs, and its legs, and whatnot. But I want you to focus on where he starts. The image's head was of fine gold. This brings us down to Daniel chapter 2, verse 38, as Daniel goes on to describe what that gold head is. He says to Nebuchadnezzar, he says, you, Nebuchadnezzar, are this head of gold. So basically, Daniel is telling Nebuchadnezzar that Babylon is the head of gold. This connection goes all the way back to Revelation 13. In Revelation 13, John sees a beast rising out of the sea, and this beast, he goes on to describe it, and we can talk about this for days. But in verse 2, he's describing the beast, and he says, now the beast which I saw was like a leopard, his feet were like the feet of a bear, and his mouth like the mouth of a lion. Now, the reason why that word lion is important to pay attention to is because what John was seeing in this vision goes hand in hand with what Daniel was seeing in his vision in Daniel chapter 7. In Daniel chapter 7, Daniel sees these beasts coming up out of the sea. And the first beast that he sees is one like a lion. And he says right here, the first was like a lion. Now, the reason why this is interesting is because what Daniel was saying was that this lion-like beast, it is connected to Babylon. He is seeing Babylon because the very next beast is like a bear. That speaks to the Persian Empire. The very next beast after that was like a leopard, and that speaks to the Greek Empire, which is speaking to Alexander the Great. But here, the first beast that he sees is a lion. So he's talking about this lion, and he's connecting it to Babylon. Now, when you go all the way back to Genesis chapter 10, this is where you are introduced to Babylon. So after the flood, Cush begot Nimrod. Now, Nimrod, he's a mighty hunter. His name means to rebel. So this dude is all about rebelling. And it goes on, and Nimrod has a kingdom, which is the first kingdom, and his kingdom is called Babel. So the very first kingdom of the world is Babylon. You're seeing it connected to the golden age that we are living in right now, and you're seeing it all throughout the Bible. We've just gone through multiple books and we keep seeing and reading about Babylon. But here, let's talk about the end of Babylon. In Revelation chapter 18, you see how it's going to end for Babylon, the fall of Babylon the Great. So in the book of Revelation, at the end, in Revelation chapter 17 and 18, John sees what Babylon is going to become, and he sees it getting destroyed. In Revelation 18 verse 2, it says, "And he cried mightily with a loud voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, is fallen." And so sometime in the future, Babylon is going to be destroyed. The question is, what is Babylon? This is one of those conversations that many people like to have. Some people think that it's America. Some people think that it's New York City. Some people think it's other things, but I would propose to you that the entire system that we are living in across the globe is Babylon. It is all connected. It is all rooted together. And so where it began in Daniel chapter 2 and Daniel chapter 7, where Daniel was seeing Babylon in those dreams and he was given the interpretations, John sees the end of it. John sees the end of Babylon. And so it seems that this entire system, that the entire world is, no matter what continent you are on, is a part of the Babylonian system. And so all of those nations, all of the cities, are eventually going to fall. In Revelation chapter 16, I forget what verse it talks about, but it talks about after the final bowl judgment is poured out into the earth, it says that the cities of the nations fell. And when you think about the cities of the nations falling, that really paints a very graphic picture in your mind. I want you to imagine whatever city you are closest to, I want you to imagine that city literally collapsing, falling down, because that is what is painted there. Actually, let me go find it real quick. In Revelation 16 verse 19, it says, "Now the great city was divided into three parts," that great city being Jerusalem. So Jerusalem was divided into three parts, and then it says, "And the cities of the nations fell." So when you think about the cities of the nations falling, that's not just one nation, it's the cities of the nations, plural. So all of the nations, all of the cities that are in existence right now in our world, no matter what country you live in, those cities are eventually going to fall. And the reason is because Jesus is returning. And he is rearranging the furniture down here on earth, in a sense, getting ready for his kingdom. And so in order for his kingdom to thrive, all of Satan's kingdoms basically needs to crumble, and that is why you see the cities of the nations falling. And so when you think about Babylon, and the question is, what is it? Again, I would propose to you that it is the entire world, because it all has ties in the Babylonian system. And when Babylon falls, it's really provocative unpacking this, because it tells us what Babylon, the cities, all of the cities of the world, when all of the cities of the world collapse, we are told what becomes of those cities. In Revelation chapter 18 verse 2, it says, "Babylon the great is fallen, and has become a dwelling place of demons, a prison for every foul spirit, and a cage for every unclean and hated bird." And so what you're seeing here is what Babylon is going to become. So all of those cities that fall, all of those cities across the world that are going to literally collapse, is going to become a prison for demons. That is interesting, because during the millennial kingdom, when Jesus is literally boots on the ground reigning as king while Satan is locked up in the abyss for 1,000 years, the demons, all of his little minions that running around, they're going to be enclosed in cages and prisons inside the cities that mankind built. And so that is going to be their place of their prison. And so that's very interesting unpacking that. So this is what I think is just so interesting, going all the way back to what we talked about before, to where you have in the White House talking about America's golden age. This golden age sounds all fine and dandy, but it really just makes you realize that we are one day closer to home. Guys, I really do believe we are in the last seconds of the last minutes. And so if you have the opportunity to, I would encourage you to tell somebody about Jesus while you can, because it's an absolute privilege to be able to share the gospel. Thanks, guys.